Hi everyone, it's Brett here from Metropole. Well, in recent weeks I've noticed something really interesting while sitting with potential clients. More specifically, those who are homeowners and perhaps have one or two investment properties. Their homes have performed strongly on most occasions, but their investment properties have really lagged behind and in many occasions actually fallen behind. It got me thinking as to why this happens so frequently. In my opinion, while there are many factors to consider when buying a property, many investors appear to overlook the basic fundamentals. Interestingly enough, it's the exact same fundamentals that most investors would look for when buying a home, but when they invest, it is very different. If they'd taken a similar approach, they would likely be in a better financial position and would likely have accumulated more property and therefore more wealth. So what are some of the basic fundamentals that are often overlooked? Well, I believe the first one is got to do with getting the location right. The location does 80% of the heavy lifting for growth of your property. So the first thing to look at is supply and demand, and that's a core basic principle for every investment. Look for opportunities where demand significantly outweighs supply. For us, we only invest in the inner to middle rings of our major capital cities, Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne, because that's where the huge creation of jobs are occurring and there's no more availability of land. That's really, really important to understand. It's also important to understand that even though you may get the location right, you may look at the wrong type of property within that location. And clearly, look, things like apartments and oversupply have caused major issues in the past. So it's not just about the location. The next thing is to understand the land to asset ratio. And this is a real simple, straightforward question. If I was to buy a property tomorrow, what part of that property's value is going up in price or growing in value? And the answer obviously is the land. If you're buying $1 million property, you want more of the property's value to be in the land component. So clearly that's really quite measurable. It's not to do with the size of the land, but actually the intrinsic land value and what the land is worth. Quite easy to calculate if you're a home buyer and you're an investor and you're looking for a house. Probably not as easy if it's an apartment, but don't forget, it still has an intrinsic land value. Clearly, if you're buying in the right location, a boutique complex of 6, 8 or 10 is going to have a far greater land component and value than a complex of 200 or 300. Now you've got the location right, the next thing to look at is the 20%, the additional things, the things that we look for, the good schools, the public transport, all those kinds of things, high walkability and lifestyle precincts. It has to be a combination of everything. It's like putting the icing on the cake. You've got to get all the ingredients right. It's not just a combination of 1 or 2 ingredients, but all 4 or 5. And I see this quite often when many investors come and say there's a hospital being built here or there's a university being built here. Well, that's fine, but it doesn't considerate or doesn't incorporate all the other ingredients and all the other major components and fundamentals of your investing. The last thing I'd also recommend, where home buyers tend to have a must-have list, investors should also have a don't buy list or a don't have list. Don't buy on main roads. Don't buy backing onto train lines where there's a lot of noise. Don't buy in flooded areas or overland flow or lower lying areas. Make sure you're sticking to your core and what you would look at as a homeowner. I know many people wouldn't live on a home on a main road or a train line, but a lot of investors invest there. And it's about buying a property that's going to be strong for investors moving forward in terms of demand for property rather than thinking of it purely like an investment. They often get sidetracked by secondary considerations like cash flow, depreciation benefits, maybe a bargain or something like that. So it's really, really important that as an investor, you start to see things through the eyes of a homeowner because that's what people are going to want more. And there's going to be greater demand for that. And if there's a shortage of supply, you've got the right ingredients there for a top performing investment property. Thanks for watching.